Good morning, class. My voice is clear. My voice clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. You can see my screens, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let us start with land laws. In last class, we have studied basic, the subject of the basic, why we need this subject, and starting with that only. Today we'll start our course. Before getting into this, we have understand the need of this subject. This topic we have understand last class. Okay, why we need it. Uh, First of all, you have to know this that land laws are a matter of concurrent list, right? So what we are going to study is not apart from something which is not part of Indian Constitution. So what land laws are basically the part of Indian Constitution. It's a part of list three. So it is a part of list three of the matter in which both center and state have power to make laws. Land laws basically generally dealt with agriculture matter, goes with state, and that is a state make laws. Okay. Second, as we have studied this also, we need this in practice. So basically, tehsil codes or SDM codes or commissioners or board of revenue. These are the codes which run parallelly, in which normally we do practice, and that is why we need to study this law only. We have understand this question also in last class. So when we are not from UP, when you are not from UP, then why you used to study this law? So basically, each state have its own land law that basically resembles what we are going to study in UPZA or UP Revenue Code basically. Otherwise, we all will be boring teaching everything we know this. We have discussed all these questions in detail in last class only. Now, this also I have told you the historical background of Uttar Pradesh. Before getting into this concept of Uttar Pradesh Land Revenue Act, we should know that how this Uttar Pradesh came into existence. So basically, Uttar Pradesh was possessed by Britishers during 1775 from this to this owner. Whole Uttar Pradesh was conquered by these Britishers. Basically, it was divided into three broader parts. That is Banaras, Awadh, and Agra. To 1857 से prior तक they were captured in a form of Banaras, Awadh, or Agra. Later on, what this they combined all these three. They combined Banaras, Awadh, and Agra territories and called them United Province. This is only this united province which later on known as Uttar Pradesh. So what we are studying is basically is an outcome of so many provinces. Apart from this, some small provinces were also being added, Meerut and other small provinces also were added into this and then resulted into a formation of Uttar Pradesh. So this is what the historical background of this state in which we are going to study the law. This is some small things that now let us move into. I have given you the idea of zamindars. So before getting into this, you should know that the law which we are going to study basically is this law. So basically, what has happened, you have to know this that So first of all, there was Uttar Pradesh Zamindari Abolition and Land Reform Act. Then there was Uttar Pradesh Land Reform Act 1905, which those two combine and form a Uttar Pradesh Land Revenue Code. Our focus of study will be this subject, right? But obviously we'll covering all these major because this subject contain both the combination of these aforesaid acts. So how these aforesaid acts came into existence, that is important for us to understand. So how this law that we are going to study, basically let us understand the historical aspect of this law, because without understanding that historical aspect, we cannot go into the detail of this law. So what was the first thing that we have, I have told you in last class also, that this property lies with the sovereign. So this idea was brought up by Britishers. Now the Britishers, what this is the territories which they have conquered. The property of that territories will go to the Britishers. That is, the ownership of that property goes with the Britisher. Possession is with whom doesn't matter. So whatever they did, suppose this is complete area, and they are having, this is complete, and this is Britishers. This is the n number of Britishers in India, and this is complete India, and they have conquered complete Indian territory. Suppose let it be Uttar Pradesh territory, and for them it is not possible for them to administer all these properties, to administer all this land bare-handedly by themselves, and therefore they bring up the idea of zamindar. This idea of zamindar is known as basically bandobast. This is known as bandobast. So what they make a bandobast means arrangement. The word bandobast basically means arrangement. So what the people do, they make an arrangement by creating a particular class. So they create an arrangement with the name zamindars. These zamindars are also known as thekedar, or also known as talukadar. So different provinces, because United province is a part of so many small provinces. So they were known differently in different provinces, but they are always being a part of same thing that is known as bandobast. This is a particular class of group created by bandobast. So bandobast means making an arrangement. So this is how the Britishers make an arrangement in order to arrange or in order to manage these properties. Okay. They are also known as talukadar. Okay. Understand this. What is the purpose? We have understand this. Please अपने आप को silent रखिए. सिर्फ बात करने के लिए you can unmute yourself. Always talk to me. खुद से बात करने के लिए mute रखिए. नरेश जी please mute yourself. Thank you. चलिए. So first, in each province, this middle people, this particular class was created, which is known as either talukadar or the zamindars. And what is the main purpose of these talukadar or zamindar? I have told you this also, that this class of people have to pay a certain annual rents to the Britishers. So what they say, suppose this is an area of a village, this is another village, this is another village, and this is another village. So V1, V2, V3, and V4. यहाँ पे Z1, यहाँ पे Z2, Z3, and Z4. So what they say, they put Z here, and what this says, you do have administration upon this property. You have this property. You have this village. You have this village. So you have all these villages, and what you have to do. Suppose this is a big village. So Z1 has to pay certain amount of rent. For example, 4,000 rupees yearly. Suppose 2,000 rupees yearly, 5,000 rupees yearly, and so on. So these Z1, Z2, 3 and Z4 so on have to pay certain sum of fixed amount of rent, which they have to pay in order to have the possessory rights, not ownership, to have the possessory right upon the land of that village. So this is something like tenancy. So zamindar are like they have to pay certain rents because they are enjoying the land of the Britishers, which the Britishers have allotted them. Right. So these are called zamindars and ठेकेदाrs. We'll try to understand what is the main purpose of it. Don't worry. In next slide, I will be focusing upon that part only. For the purpose of this, why this has been changed. चलिए कोई नहीं. The Britishers, the purpose of Britishers was to recover the rent. For the purpose of recovering the rent, what they have created so many rent recovery acts. So how the rent is to be recovered, उसके लिए उन्होंने क्या किया? They have framed so many acts. We are not focusing upon these acts, but we are trying to understand the background. So in United Province, there were existing so many rent recovery acts, bundles of act, Agra tenancy, Awadh rent, each having a different manner of dealing. Or all these rent talk about zamindars and talukadars, which is known as middlemen. The zamindars and talukadar are known as middlemen. So why we call middlemen? We try to understand them also. What has happened? So basically, this is something like this. The manner have to understand like this, that this red zone was the tenure holder, the real person who was cultivating the land. So suppose this is the village, cultivation is being done by these people. Whatever they cultivate, this will go to zamindar. So tenure holder have to pay rents to the zamindar. This rent, which the tenure holders were paying to the zamindar, this rent was unspecified, not fixed, depend upon wish of zamindar. So why I put this tenure holder into red zone? The reason of putting him into a red zone is very simple, because this was the most suffering class. The real hard worker was the tenure holder only. When I say tenure holder, yani ki that the person who is really into the possession of the property. So suppose this is a village. Suppose this is a village in which this is a lands. This is a land property. This property is being agricultured by the tenure holder. So the agriculture is done by hard work, labor, and everything was done by the tenure holders. When tenure holder do all this, now there exists a person, okay, who is having a chair and enjoying a good life. So he's lying on a chair enjoying the good life. Enjoying the chair and enjoying good life have to pay the rent to him. These are known as zamindars. And this person have free hand. So this enjoyment person was having free hand. So I called it a yellow zone because he's having a free hand. Whatever he want, he can have it, enjoy it. So what they do, they exploit. This person exploits these people, right, and recover as much of as rent they want, because these people, these zamindars could not be questioned, because all the title, all the power to decide that who will pay the rent, what will be the rent, how will be the rent. Okay, all it was given to the zamindars. So what was happening? This red zone people were under very, very, very bad condition because the zamindar were exploiting. And later on, these zamindar have to pay fixed amount to the Britisher green zone. Why I put them into a green zone? Because they have to do nothing. Simply they have fixed a rent, or this rent will go to the Britishers. Then zamindar pay the specified amount or fixed amount to Britishers. What was happening basically? This person lies between. So basically, if you see between the real tenure holders and the Britisher, this lies the person, middleman. What is called middleman? So these were middlemen. What we call as zamindars or talukadar. Talukadar. So they were middlemen which were existing between Britishers and the zamindar. What the problem was? This tenure holder, this person, red zone people was not aware that what amount the zamindar is paying to the Britishers. So they were unaware that what amount will be paid to the zamindars by to the Britishers. Firstly, secondly, the Britishers were unaware that what amount he is receiving from the tenure holder. So this was the problem with this bandobast system. What we can seek this problem by understanding this thing that suppose Z have to pay 2000 per annum to Britishers. B. He was aware about this. Z aware about the fact. Obviously. Then what will happen? First of all, what he Z will do, Z will do, will try that he should recover 2000 from T. The first task of Z is always that he must recover the amount which is going to pay to the Britisher firstly. Secondly, Z have to recover amount so that he can enjoy its life. So one thing is fixed. So suppose village total value of village produce the agriculture which can pay only 1000 rupees of rent. Still, he have to exploit the tenure holder in order to recover the rent which is minimum 2000 rupees. So this is how Z start exploiting because they anyhow have to arrange a fixed amount whether their village was able to produce that amount of profit in a year or not. They have to fix it firstly. Secondly, sometime the village do produce that amount which is required still for their own personal life, and they have to arrange the assets. What happened to this? What happened due to this? Happened due to this was this. The zamindari system created a feeling of anger and revolutions among tenure holders, and they may revolt against the government. So what happened upon independence? No. When independence came into existence, the government of India realized this fact. जब आजाद हुआ देश तो उन्होंने इस फैक्ट को रियलाइज कर लिया क्या कि we have come out with a revolution right just a day before, and a next revolution is standing on the threshold just a day ahead. That is a tenant or peasant revolution, which can badly affect the independence of the nation, because a newly born nation was not ready to face the new independence. And this is how the Indian government, through First Amendment Act, that we know, Indian Constitution First Amendment Act, they bring up the Indian Constitution First Amendment Act. And in 1946, after the First Amendment being created in UP, the First Amendment was made in relation to the property laws, that it can be regulated by the state. The First Amendment of the Constitution, which was challenged by in Shankari Prasad, then in Sajjan Singh, okay, then also in Golaknath, and there also we know so many other. In 1946, when the First Amendment was made in the Constitution, and it was said that properties laws can be regulated, the UP government, UP Legislative Assembly, accepted to abolish the zamindari system in UP. The UP was the first state to establish this idea that yes, this system may impact, may affect uh, the our independence, and therefore UP Assembly in 1946 decided to abolish the zamindari system. That they decided that they must abolish zamindari system, and in order to abolish zamindari system, they frame a committee, UP Zamindari Abolition Committee, into the chairmanship of Govind Ballabh Pant and vice chairman Hukum Singh. And for your kind information, Mr. Chaudhry Charan Singh was also a member of the committee, the university in which you are studying basically. Why he is famous for? He is famous for this also. ठीक है, तो A.N. Jha, Amir Raza, and Chaudhry Charan Singh and other members were also. But these four were very prominent and well-known members who have to come together to bring out the changes which this law, the abolition system of zamindari, require. With idea of bringing changes into the existing law, they make a committee in 1946, and the committee first prepare the draft, okay, of the said recommendation, and which in 26, or we call it on 26th January 1951, result into UP Zamindari Abolition and Land Reform Act. This is how this law came into existence. Now, mere existence, coming existence of this law is not enough for us to understand. And though this all will not be coming in your examination, but in order to understand this law, you must know this history, basic history. This law came into existence as the name suggests. Aim was first was to abolish zamindari system, and second aim was to bring land reforms. So this basically this act which we are going to study focus around two basic concepts. One, how to abolish zamindari system, and after abolition, how to bring land reforms for the welfare of the people. Okay, so this was the two aim, that too in Uttar Pradesh, of this particularly act which came into force on 26 January 1950 with the name of Act of 1950. Okay, the draft was presented in 1950, though it came become law in 1951. And that is why it is known as UP Zamindari Land Reform Act 1950. Let us read. We have understand this also in our classes, but let's go through it fast. Okay, why we need abolition of zamindari system? First thing, this is a very good question. This may come in your examination also. Okay, why we need to abolish the zamindari system? So we have understand this. What is the need to abolish this system? But still, let us read basic. To increase the agriculture production. This was the first purpose. Why increase the agriculture production? Basically, we says that there exists a three layer system, है ना? Three layer system exist कर रहा था. ये ब्रिटिशर्स थे, ये जमींदार थे, ये टेन्योर होल्डर थे. ये सबसे ज्यादा यही काम कर रहे थे. And when he was working, he was aware that he have to surrender good to Z. Tenure holders are aware that every time when they produce some good product, they have to surrender it to the Z without any question. And therefore, what they become motiveless. They were not to even tenure holders were aware that okay, whatever we will do, it will be taken up by Z. So why should we do? So what happened? This reduced the production. This badly affect the agriculture production because people who were directly involved into agriculture production were not interested to produce the goods because of the zamindari system. First thing. Second idea of change was that everybody must work. This was the second idea. So zamindars were not doing any work. So zamindar were not interested to do any work, and therefore, and still they are enjoying very wonderful, lavish standards of life. In independent country like India, nobody was allowed to exploit the other. Rather, it is the duty of everybody that they must work for the development of the nation altogether. So this idea of equality, ठीक है, equal right to work, led the government to abolish zamindari system. We know this landlord system was created by Britishers only, so it was like an evil to the society. And last, also we know this that if this system could have been continued, the India may have faced another bloody revolution of peasant, which is known as peasant revolution. So, in order to save India from facing any further uh, revolution, this system was abolished. Now, this is the question which normally come in your examination. This is something which will come in your examination. Salient feature of the act, that is UP Zamindari Abolition Act. Let us go into the salient feature and find out. This everybody know. We are discussing this from half an hour only. Last class also we have done. This is the first salient feature of this. That is abolition of the Zamindari system. The Zamindari system was abolished. The middleman was removed. But now you have to understand that this layer, tenure holder and Britishers, now these Britishers were removed, turned into, because we are into independent India, so this come into a government. So this was a government. The task of this act was to remove this class. So this class was removed. When this class have to be removed, you have to understand when this class is to be removed, this will get directly connected to British. This is the aim. So we remove this class. But try to understand. Suppose this removed class as a block come here. What you're doing, what you do, you in order to create justice, you create injustice. Because in India, we believe in Gandhian socialism or Nehru socialism, not Karl Marx. So do not follow Karl Marx. When I say do not follow Karl Marx, try to understand what it means. That in order to create equality, what Karl Marx says, take all the wealth from the wealthy and distribute to the lower class. This is Karl Marx. But in what Gandhi says, bring lower class upward and maintain the upper class. You also known as Rawls theory, है ना? Rawls theory of justice, Rawls idea of equality basically. Rawls theory of equality इसको बोलते हैं. तो we believe in basically Gandhian or Nehru idea of equality or Rawls idea of equality. So when you cannot leave Z in isolation, so you cannot leave, okay, you are the evil of the society, so we'll leave you in isolation. When I say leave in isolation, basically हो क्या रहा है? What is happening with this revenue act? You are taking away ZA, है ना? तो I will act this ZA act, Zamindari Abolition Act was doing क्या? Taking away all properties from zamindars or talukadars and distributing it to tenure holder. So basically what this was doing, that जितना भी जमींदार के पास प्रॉपर्टी था, they all will be taken and distributed to tenure holder. तो obviously we are bringing distribution of justice, but अगर आप देखेंगे तो we are taking away the property, तो we are creating upper class and we are bringing upper class to downwards, and therefore it was very much interested, very much have to be understood that even this zamindars status should not be, status in the sense the standard of living should not go down. So zamindars rights is to be, zamindar rights are to be maintained. This was also needed. That another salient feature of this act goes with this idea of maintaining the rights of the zamindar. And in order to maintain the rights of zamindar, they bring up the concept of compensation and rehabilitation grant. So zamindari system was abolished, property was distributed to the tenure holders, but first, all zamindar and talukadar was paid compensation. The first thing was zamindars and talukadars. Any person having any question, you can ask me directly, right? Any problem like, sir, I am not able to understand anything. Talukadar were paid compensation. So basically, whatever property was taken from them, okay, whatever the property was taken for them, the compensation was paid to them in the return of the assets that are been taken from the zamindars. So basically, they were given 8 times the amount of asset taken from him, zamindars or talukadars. So whatever being taken to talukadar, 8 times of that was written. For example, he was taken 1 acre land. So it was taken that you have, suppose Mr. Z have village V1 having 100 acres of land. Suppose out of that 90 acres taken from Z1. So Z1 से government ने 90 acres ले लिया. तो they will say, suppose the value of 90 acre was, suppose 90 rupees. The value of 90 rupees. So they will say, okay, now we'll pay you 90 into 8. So we will pay you this much of amount, this much of 72. Okay, so we have taken you 720. We have taken, just hold on. We have taken 90 rupees from you and we will give you 720. So basically, they convert the asset they have taken into the money value, and 8 times of that was refunded to them. That was their standard of living was maintained. Okay, they were paid compensations firstly. The compensations were paid to the zamindars, which was 8 times the amount of assets they have. This was the first act done. So this was very good perspective, because justice was not created only for tenure holder, but justice was created also for the zamindars. The second task was given was rehabilitation grants. We know what is rehab. Rehabilitation means grants. Basically, these were the grants. When I say grant, this is an amount paid to zamindars or talukadars to rehabilitate themselves. तो उनका स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग को वो वापस मेंटेन कर सकें, उतना जितना वो रह रहे थे इवन आफ्टर दिस प्रॉपर्टी हैज बीन टेकन. They were given first they were given compensation. Along with compensation, rehabilitation grant was also given, but compensation was paid to every person जिसकी प्रॉपर्टी ली थी, irrespective of who he is, a जमींदार, तालुकादार, ठेकेदार, whatever he is. Property if taken, it will be compensated. But rehabilitation grant was not paid everyone. It was paid to limited people. And that was basically, these are only the zamindar or ठेकेदार 0 to 10,000 rupees land revenue per annum. So whosoever was paying 0 to 10,000 rupees per annum rent revenue to the Britishers at the time when this act came into the existence, or to the government of India when this act came into existence, this idea of rehabilitation was available to these people only. Any person paying above 10,000, they were not allowed to rehabilitate. Because why is what there? Because small people who are getting more affected, bigger people are affecting less, because they are already having good compensations. That's why the rehabilitation was maintained for some particular people only, particular class of uh, zamindars or talukadars. The manner of this rehabilitation grant was not as similar as compensation. So compensation, irrespective of the nature of revenue you are paying, compensation was 8% of the asset. Whereas when the rehabilitation grant was done, this amount varies, right? So it varies from basically lower to highest, I will say. It was lower to the highest. So who pays? Basically, who zero who paid lowest land revenue paid highest rehab grant. And who pays highest revenue given lowest rehab grant. The rehabilitation grant was distributed in this manner that whatever your income is, the highest 0 to 10,000. That means the person who is from 10,000 will get the highest or lowest rehabilitation grant, or the person who is paying suppose 1,000 rupees will be given highest rehabilitation grant. And the variation of rehabilitation grant was 1 to 20 times of revenue. So 1 to 20 times. So compensation was 8 times and this was 1 to. That means suppose 10,000 rupees revenue, इसको मिलेगा 1 time. that is only 10,000 only. Suppose someone is giving 1,000, इसको मिलेगा 20 times, that is he will get 20,000. The largest will get smallest and smallest will get the largest rehabilitation grants. So though idea of equity was created, one was the compensation and another was the rehabilitation grant. Compensation was paid 8 times of the whole asset, not the revenue, whole assets. Whereas rehabilitation was given for one, I will say 0 to 10,000 of revenue paid yearly. So it was given to a person. When I say person, I mean zamindars who were paying land revenue to the government varying from 0 to 10,000. And it was also given in the manner of proportionate or proportion of the revenue they were paying. The person who paid the highest revenue was given lowest rehabilitation grant. So 10,000 person was given lowest rehabilitation grant. That was one. The person who paid the lowest rehabilitation grant was given maximum lowest revenue was given maximum rehabilitation grant. That is 20,000. So so it was 8%. It was 1 to 8 times. Sorry, 1 to 20 times. ठीक है, लोएस्ट से हाईएस्ट की तरफ. Is this clear? Is it clear? चलिए, let us move further. किसी को यहाँ तक कोई सवाल तो नहीं है, please? Any person having any question till this? No question? How many people are sitting on the screen right now?
Sir, I have a question.
Good, Ayush.
Sir, the amount of compensation that is given, how is it calculated usually?
The amount of 8 times
8 times.
of asset. So what they do, suppose what they do, they first of all convert the property they are taking into money.
Okay.
What is the market value of that property at that time? So whatever property was taken from zamindar, that property's value was calculated as per the market value into money terms. So suppose market value was 1,000 rupees. So it will say कि okay, we are taking asset from you that is 1,000 rupees. So they take the property from you and now they will compensate you. So after the calculation, suppose the money value is coming 1,000 rupees. So this is 1,000 का 8 से multiply, है ना? That is they will give you 8,000 8 times. That is now they have taken 1,000 from you and they revert back you the 8,000 in money format. This is how the compensation is paid. Right.
Sir, in recent time जैसे ग्रेटर नोएडा को डेवलप किया गया है, तो इसमें कंपनसेशन दी गई है कि रिहैबिलिटेशन ग्रांट दी गई है लोगों को?
दोनों ही दी गई है इसके अंदर. जो जब भी प्रॉपर्टी का एक्वायर किया जाता है तो अलग अलग तरीके से एक्वायर किया जाता है. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर रोड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन वगैरह के लिए गए तो सिंपली कंपनसेशन पे करते थे. बट फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू सी नोएडा, तो यू सी द प्रॉपर्टी इज आल्सो टेकन प्लस द पीपल वर अवॉर्डेड सम प्लेस इनटू द एरिया वेयर दे आर लिविंग. स्टैंडर्डाइज फॉर एग्जांपल एक गांव को डेवलप किया है तो उन्होंने वहां पे उस लोकल विलेजर्स जो उनको भी रहने के लिए घर या एसेट्स या वो सब चीजें प्रोवाइड कराई हैं. तो बोथ रिहैबिलिटेशन ग्रांट्स एंड कंपनसेशंस आर प्रोवाइडेड. और नोएडा का जो रिहेबिलिटेशन ग्रांट पे किया है दैट इज नॉट 8 टाइम, क्योंकि हम काफी डेवलप कर चुके हैं. ये हम बात कर रहे हैं 1950 की, नोएडा है अभी 2000 का. तो इट वाज गिवन 12 टाइम्स ऑफ द एसेट. तो जितना भी मार्केट वैल्यू उस दिन कैलकुलेट किया उनकी प्रॉपर्टीज का, उसका 12 टाइम्स उनको कंपनसेशन पे किया गया. और कुछ ऐसे लोग थे जो गरीब थे, मतलब रिहेबिलिटेशन ग्रांट हमेशा सबको नहीं मिलता है. तो देयर वर सर्टेन पीपल जिनकी सारी प्रॉपर्टी जा रही थी इनटू द डेवलपमेंट. So they were also given rehabilitation grant, and the rehabilitation grant compensation grants this time in Noida, when it was in Noida, it varies from 10% to 50% of the 50 times of the annual income of the property. So whatever the annual income they were paying or they were obtaining from the property, they were given 50 times of the rehabilitation grant of this. So compensation भी मिला था plus rehab भी मिला था. But rehab is not available to every person, to limited tenure holders only. ठीक है, वो उनका पूरा हमको पढ़ना पड़ेगा मेमोरेंडम ऑफ या प्रमोशंस जो उस समय किए होंगे या जो गैजेट उस समय गवर्नमेंट ने पास किया होगा उसके बेसिस पे, राइट?
थैंक यू सर.
ओके, चलिए. Now, third, this is also for the welfare of, this was both for tenure holder and zamindar. This was available for tenure holder and zamindar. So cultivation right was maintained. What do you mean by cultivation right was maintained? When I say cultivation right was maintained, that means that whosoever was cultivating what property was cultivating property personally, it was retained with him. तो जब प्रॉपर्टी ऑनरशिप जमींदार से ले लिया तो ऑब्वियसली वी नो कि जमींदार के नीचे देयर वाज द टेन्योर होल्डर हु वाज रियली डूइंग हार्ड वर्क और प्रॉपर्टी उसी की पोजीशन में थी बेसिकली. जमींदार तो कभी भी उसके गए ही नहीं था. तो जिन लोगों के पास द पर्सन वाज हैविंग द ऑक्यूपेंसी ऑफ दैट प्रॉपर्टी, they were asked that now you become the owner of this property, you are cultivating this property, so you keep this property. तो कल्टीवेशन राइट वाज मेंटेन. तो जिसके पास जो कल्टीवेशन के लिए था, तो ऐसा नहीं था कि प्रॉपर्टी लेके गवर्नमेंट ने अपने पास रख ली. तो वट एवर प्रॉपर्टी वॉज कल्टिवेटेड बाय whom so ever, it was maintained by that person. So even the zamindars were, so there were certain zamindars who do agriculture to the property personally also through their servant or their, that means there was their own personal property that was not taken from zamindars. तो जमींदार से कौन सी प्रॉपर्टी ली थी? जो एक्स्ट्रा प्रॉपर्टी थी. एक्स्ट्रा मींस ही वाज नॉट द ओनर बेसिकली, बट ब्रिटिशर्स ने उसको रेवेन्यू कलेक्ट करने के लिए पावर दे दी थी. बट उसी गांव में उसके पास उसकी पर्सनल प्रॉपर्टीज भी थी. दैट मींस जिसमें उसके पास ओनरशिप थी, इट वाज रिटेन्ड, वो उससे नहीं ली गई थी. सेम वे ये जो एक्स्ट्रा प्रॉपर्टी थी, इसमें जो कल्टीवेशंस कर रहे थे, है ना, उनको इसका ऑनरशिप क्रिएट कर दिया गया था. उनसे बोला था यू मेंटेन इट, यू डू इट. ठीक है, तो कल्टीवेशन राइट वर मेंटेन फॉर बोथ द टेन्योर होल्डर्स एंड द जमींदार्स. चलिए, थर्ड, तो वी वर 3. फोर्थ सिचुएशन, the land tenure system was simplified. So what was happened prior to 1950 Act? Prior, there were existing 14 types of tenure holder, right? तो there were so many 14 type of tenure holder exist करते थे, बहुत नाम थे उनके. What they were 1950 Act के बाद क्या हुआ? After all these 14 type was merged into only 3 types. Just after 1950, they were merged into only 3 types of tenure holder. They were called as Bhumidhar, then Seedar, then Assami. ठीक है, फिर later on in future further division was done. Bhumidhar were divided into 2. Bhumidhar with transferable right, Bhumidhar with non-transferable rights. They were Assami and Adivasi. फिर उसके बाद इनको 4 में कन्वर्ट किया गया. हम इन सबको पढ़ेंगे आने वाले टाइम में. एंड एट प्रेजेंट At present, we have only three. Bhumidhar with transferable rights, basically four. Bhumidhar with non-transferable rights, Asami, and government leasing. तो at present we have only these four tenure holder. तो हम इनका डेवलपमेंट भी पढ़ेंगे, बट अभी के लिए हमको सिर्फ इतना पढ़ना है कि 1950 एक्ट ने क्या किया, सिंप्लीफाई कर दिया, तो 14 को कन्वर्ट कर दिया 3 में, 3 क्लासेस ऑफ टेन्योर होल्डर। और आज की डेट में 4 क्लासेस बेसिकली एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, हम इनको डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे। भूमिधर विद ट्रांसफरेबल राइट, भूमिधर विद नॉन ट्रांसफरेबल राइट्स, असामी एंड गवर्नमेंट लेसी। तो another important task that was performed by these UPZA Act was to simplify the tenure system, classes of tenure holder that were existing in Uttar Pradesh. So there were 14 classes of tenure holder, which was very complex to understand. That was simplified and turned into a very simplified forms of classes. ठीक है, तो भूमिधर were the people who were having both heritable and transferable rights. तो basically if you talk about भूमिधर्स, जो भूमिधर उन्होंने बनाए थे, they were only the person who was having permanent, transferable, heritable rights in the property, right? Assamese were only permanent and heritable but not transferable, whereas Assami was only heritable. तो if you see कुछ इस तरीके से डिवीजन था। तो भूमिधर जो थे, इनके पास परमानेंट, हेरिटेबल एंड ट्रांसफरेबल राइट थे, whereas Sirdar was having only permanent and heritable right. Heritable rights. Where if you say Assami, they were having only heritable rights. So this is how through their rights they were transferred into 3 classes. तो बेसिकली आज भी हम पढ़ेंगे, तो आज भी जितनी टेन्योर होल्डर्स हैं उनके राइट रिलेटेड टू द प्रॉपर्टी वैरी करते हैं, ठीक है। बट एट दैट टाइम व्हेन द लॉ वाज क्रिएटेड, these were the 3 class related to their right in the property, right? चलिए, नेक्स्ट करते हैं। Another salient feature was prohibition of letting. When I say prohibitions of letting, that means that new tenure system or new law has created certain restrictions about lease, mortgage, etc. So at the UPZLR Act, the right to lease was restricted. That means it was not allowed to give your property to someone else, because the aim of this property was to make a person work first, that is known as cultivate firstly, secondly to have the ownership in the property. And that is why UPZLR Act says that you should not let your property to someone else to cultivate, otherwise it will again create that system of zamindari system, right? तो उसको simplify करने के लिए उन्होंने बोला you are not allowed to lease the property. But yes, there were certain conditions in which leasing was allowed. We will understand that also. So they talk about prohibition of letting generally. Yeah, I can say restricted leasing was allowed. The restriction leasing was allowed. ठीक. Another is prohibition of accumulation of land. This new law says nobody should accumulate land that is beyond 12.5 acres. So in Uttar Pradesh, you cannot have agricultural land beyond 12.5 acres. ठीक है. So any person who have 12.5 acres, beyond 12.5 acres, they will be taken. Still today also, if any person have land beyond 12.5 acre, it is subject to the consolidation or lease or subject to cessation. ठीक है. The court, if any person will have this property beyond this, it will be taken by the state government. So this provision was done that nobody should accumulate, because if accumulation happen, though again same thing will happen. People will start accumulating the property, and again the system which was existing prior to this act will come into existence, and therefore in order to make sure that this system should not come again into existence, this says that accumulation of land must not be there. Right. This was another restrictions. Prohibition of creation of uneconomic holdings. Prohibition for creation of uneconomic holdings. This is amended now. या पहली बात तो. That means ये आज की डेट में 2021 में एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता है. बट एट 1950 जब ये लॉ आया था, 1950 से लेके 2012 तक ये एग्जिस्ट कर रहा था. What was this? That no persons shall sell the property if he left with less than 3.25 acres of land. Minimum land fix किया था. That is 3.25 acre was the minimum land that each person have to keep. It was not allowed that any person below this. So if I am having a property 5 acre, suppose, so I can be able to sell the property of 1.75 acres as my value or my area of my property reaches to 3.25 acres. That is approximately 5 biga. 3.5 acres of land. I was barred by law that I could not sell it anymore. So this was because in order to save the cultivation right, to maintain the agriculture outputs in India, and so many reasons were there. ठीक है. तो अनइकोनॉमिक होल्डिंग्स रखने के लिए, व्हाट डू मीन बाय अनइकोनॉमिक होल्डिंग? बेसिकली अनइकोनॉमिक होल्डिंग्स वो होल्डिंग्स होती है इन विच इट इज कंसिडर्ड दैट द एरिया बिलो दिस पर्टिकुलर एरिया the land will not produce the agriculture to the ratio that it will produce profit to the agriculturist. So uneconomic holdings are basically are the area which would not produce profit to agriculturist. जो एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट को प्रॉफिट प्रोड्यूस नहीं करेगा. राइट. Another salient feature was uniform succession basically. So in UPZA, we will study this in detail also. In UPZA, separate mode of successions is provided. irrespective of the religion. So you belong to any religion, any community. If the property fall under UPZA-LR Act, now known as UP Revenue Code, you will not be allowed to devolve the property as per your personal laws. So personal law have no application on agricultural land in Uttar Pradesh. Right. And last thing was establishment of public village republic. We know what is village republic. So UP Panchayat Raj Act, गांव सभा, गांव समाज, भूमि प्रबंधक समिति, etc. So this law has also talked about and discussed that how the complete village will function through the mechanism of panchayat, through the mechanism of gaon sabha, gram sabha, bhumi prabandhak samiti. ठीक है, तो they have created भूमि प्रबंधक समिति, they have created गांव सभा, गांव समाज, even ग्राम न्यायालय. ठीक है, तो all was created by this law. ठीक है, so this is land reform, this is also called land reform. So such land reforms they have bring. So these were the all salient features of the act. Hopefully you have understand. Any question regarding this? Regarding the salient features? No question. Chaliye, thank you. This we have understand. So this law, which we have studied salient feature, along this is a basically subjective law. Subjective part. This subjective part coupled with procedural part. तो ये सब्जेक्टिव पार्ट था, ये प्रोसीड्यूरल पार्ट था, इन दोनों को मिला के नाउ एक लॉ बना दिया है, दैट इज नोन एज यूपी रेवेन्यू कोड. इसके अंदर बोथ प्रोसीजर एंड सब्सटेंस एक साथ अवेलेबल है. इन दोनों लॉज के बीच में बहुत सारे डिस्प्यूटेड प्रोविजंस थे, उनको यूनिफॉर्म किया गया और एक लॉ बनाया गया है. तो जो हम पढ़ने वाले हैं वो दैट इज यूपी रेवेन्यू कोड. तो व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी इज यूपी रेवेन्यू कोड. तो आप जो लोग बेयर एक्ट लेने वाले हैं वो यूपी रेवेन्यू कोड का बेयर एक्ट लेने वाले हैं. आपके सिलेबस के अंदर यूपी जमींदारी लैंड रिफॉर्म एक्ट लिखा हुआ है, बट इट डजंट मैटर. We are studying UP Revenue Code because people will be coming from UP Revenue Code, not UP Zamindari Land Reform Act. As such, there is no such a great difference. Sections number change हुए हैं, वो हम अच्छे से पढ़ेंगे, और कुछ भी नहीं change हुआ है. तो what changes are being made by new law? इसको भी एक बार देख लेते हैं. तो बेसिकली बोथ सब्सटेंटिव लॉ एंड प्रोसीजरल लॉ कंबाइंड किया है, हमने पढ़ लिया इस चीज को. कुछ रिपीटेड प्रोविजंस थे और कुछ कंफ्लिक्टिंग प्रोविजंस थे, उनमें हार्मोनी क्रिएट करने के लिए नया लॉ लेके आए, नथिंग एल्स. तो उसने कुछ नहीं किया है, बहुत लोगों को ऐड कर दिया है और कुछ नहीं. इस लॉ के अंदर सबसे रीसेंट अमेंडमेंट जो है 2019 है. ठीक है, और राइट 2020 भी लिख सकते हैं, एक नया एक 2 सेक्शंस ऐड किए गए हैं, तो 2020 रीसेंट अमेंडमेंट है. ठीक है, it is still developing and 2020 is the recent amendment that was made into this act. चलिए, hopefully it was very much tolerating. ठीक है, तो I am done with my session. Last 10 minutes to 20 minutes will always keep for discussion. So you people are open to have discussion with me regarding anything. Mostly try to have discussion upon legal aspects. ठीक है, legal aspects related to ZA LRC. So any person having any queries, any questions, any discussion, first on land laws, and there on later on we can discuss on any